Hi, I'm homosexual Bryan Safi.
And I'm feminasty Erin Gibson.
And this is the Zoom Voice. Sponsored
Gender
by
issues.
Attitudes. Pop culture.
Wait, huh?
Excuse me.
Gender issues, pop culture?
You know what? Gender issues, pop culture, LGBT plus issues.
I don't think that's right.
Can you handle it?
I cannot. I'm to look at the record, I think that's not right.
My recording equipment's gone to shit, and I'm working with a hunk of bullshit today.
Excuse me, I deserve respect.
I deserve respect. How
are you? No, not you. Can you handle it?
You caught me unawares. That made me laugh. How are you, Angel? How was your Valentine's?
Basic.
Yeah.
I went out with all the other people. Listen, I truly love my husband. I think we went out on the wrong night because everyone hated each other.
On
we
Friday?
were the only ones laughing in the whole restaurant.
Night?
Yeah. At 5:30, like grandparents.
Beautiful, though.
Yes. And everyone hated each other at the restaurant. I saw people switching tables. I thought people sitting down and being like, no, not at this table.
Can I ask where you went? So they
just sat him to another two-top that's the same. I was like, huh?
Can I ask where you went, or is that private?
Antico Nuovo. It's my favorite restaurant in LA.
Oh, yeah. So nice.
Have you been?
Good too. No. But you have told me about it and said how amazing it is.
So it counts as if you know. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I'd love to take you one time, but you can't seem to. The second I think I've snagged you, you run away like a wild feral cat.
I had to. Can I make 5 cents? Do you mind?
You're not working in New York?
No, not here, but I had to shoot when our last plan was.
I know.
And
but
by the way, you said we hadn't
York.
seen each other in a year. We fully saw each other in January in Palm Springs.
Oh, right. Wow, that didn't even exist
to me hours later, and I was like, I know I've seen Erin in the last year, and we saw each other 4 weeks ago.
We ran away from a fire together.
I think honestly it was so traumatic that we forgot.
Amy, you nailed it. We're with our lady attorneys today. It does feel like a year since January. Every day feels like 6 months.
It's crazy. It really is.
That's
crazy.
my new Sheryl Crow whatever comedy album. Every day feels like 6 months.
For sure.
Did you see what you did with her Tesla?
What about my Tesla?
No, her Tesla. I know you don't have a Tesla. Do you know how many people have tried to talk out of Tesla's early days? I was like, so wait a second.
Everyone's selling them. Everyone in LA is selling them.
Not enough people.
I see a Tesla on the market every day from someone posting something saying like, hey, you want to buy my Tesla? It's gently used.
Hey, guess what? No.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine if I did? Can you imagine if now was the time?
I had friends being like, I think I'm going to buy a Tesla. And I was like, I don't think you should buy a Tesla for these 8 reasons. And they'd be like, I'm going to go ahead and buy it.
Right. Number 1, he's the richest man in the world. Number 2, he's the president of the United States.
And number 3, he's always been a fucking turd.
Number 3 and number 4, he clearly tells one of his kids to shut the fuck up all the time because that little kid said it with no problem the other day.
I'll say this. I've never felt more like a mother when trying to talk my friends out of Teslas and saying, because the reason anyone's buying them back then was to just fit in and because they looked cool. And I said,
well, and to buy electric, and we have a responsibility.
There were other electric cars. There's other electric cars.
I know.
So so other than you think you're going to get your dick wet, what's the reason?
Me too.
I said,
I don't know.
The rule in LA is if you ask someone, if your friend jumped off the side of a building, would you? The answer is always yes.
Mm-hmm. That's
survival in LA.
Sheryl Crow sold her Tesla and donated the money to NPR. Yes. That is a person I can get on board with. By the way, shout out to Sergio, who spelled Cheryl with a C, the way Cheryl is supposed to be spelled.
Not supposed to be. It's the way Sheryl Crow spells it.
It isn't. It absolutely isn't. She spells it with an S. Thank you. No, Sergio, props.
No, who is in the wrong there? Other Sheryls or Sheryl Crow?
Sheryl Crow, who I love. What do I know?
Hey, listen, I got nothing against her. Do I think that all I want to do is have some fun is an anthem of an alcoholic? Absolutely.
Do I think
everyone's misinterpreted that song.
I Want to Soak Up the Sun had to have been on the level of a 1 to 10 effort, a 2. Did she roll out of bed and say, what's the easiest way to make money right now?
See, I think she was hanging out wasn't she dating the guy
Lance
who used
Armstrong.
to run?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so she was hanging out with Lance Armstrong and Matthew McConaughey were doing, remember they were doing bro runs?
Yeah, and Jake Gyllenhaal too. And brushing
I think
their
that
teeth in cars.
was that all at the same time?
Yes, it was.
And they were probably making her go with, he was like, babe, if you're going to be in a relationship with me, you've got to run 6 miles a day.
And that was during the 5 pieces of toilet paper era, when she says you don't ever need more than 5 pieces of toilet paper. We're talking individual sheets.
That's someone who has a very light flow.
Not to mention someone who, it must just be birdseed coming out. Anyway, so Antico Nuevo was romantic?
There's never been a left turn like that.
Well, I just wanted to get
from Sheryl Crow's birdseed poop to whether or not my Valentine's Day was it romantic? No, I don't know why I did it. What's wrong with me?
No,
they had a prefix, so I thought there was going to be different food.
Yeah,
but it was. Listen, I love that place. I love it. I love it.
I had a real.
What'd you do?
So we went to one of my private clients, probably my highest paying client, took me to a place called
From
Caspia.
what business?
Let's just say.
Oh God, this is going to take 20 minutes.
Let's just say that. Do you understand what happens when you trace the body from tip of head to tip of toe? Do you understand?
You're okay. So
do you
what
understand when you take fingernail or finger, and you trace down the body? Do you understand what happens? Mm-hmm. And so your finger gets caught on the way down. Do you understand what happened? Mm-hmm. Understand?
Are you doing nude modeling for an art class? Or is this personal massage?
But it's not for a class.
I see. It's for ass.
So anyway, one of my private clients took me to a place called Caspia, which, by the way, by the way, the meal was delicious, but everyone there was 80 and had 10 facelifts. And every guy there,
that's my vibe.
Had long ears and, just aging. Gravity had taken its toll beyond. But I did want to shout out that restaurant for one reason, beside it being really delicious. And that is that, where is it? Where's my picture? Where's my precious picture? It's not this picture of Darcy's sister, Stacy, meditating.
Okay,
but it's this picture of, let me find it. Here it is.
Caspia?
Yeah, Kaspia.
Oh, that's why I can't find it.
Look what they have on the way out. Are you going to die?
Syringes?
Loose
lighters?
Loose cigarettes and lighters.
Oh my God.
Instead of a mint. You could just.
That's a Mediterranean. That's a place that is like we're unabashedly Mediterranean.
Honey, it's Russian. Or Eastern European, Caspian, whatever. They have like.
Oh, Caspian Sea.
Right. Can you imagine? They just have loose cigarettes that you get, and they have regulars or lights. And I asked the lady at the hostess, and I said, "Can I take a picture?" And she said, "Of what?" And I said, "Of the cigarettes." She goes, "I guess."
Oh, she hated you.
Yeah, no, she did.
Wait, Caspian in New York?
Yeah, it's at the Mark Hotel.
Was it good?
Delicious. But I didn't pay. My private client paid.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. So,
I
paid
cigarettes.
later.
What brand of cigarettes? Oh, yeah.
Regulars or lights. I think I don't know.
No, but what brand?
No. Camel or Marlboro or Winston.
So American cigarettes.
No, maybe Russia. Or maybe Ukraine. I don't know.
But do you think they're Winstons from Russia? You think
that's the name of my comedy album?
Winston from Russia?
Sure. Absolutely.
Oh, I love it. It's reverse Yakov Smirnoff, where you're a guy named Winston who lives in Russia, and you're like, the Russians are so weird.
I would like for there to be a study.
You guys are like this, and we're like this.
A very gentle, friendly study of Russian chimps versus American ones. Because Winston from Russia...
First of all,
sounds like a good animal.
There shouldn't be chimps in either. They're not native to either of those countries. That's my number one problem. My number one problem is the location of these animals.
Honestly, you're right. Geographically, it's not the most desirable.
Now, is this hotel room just for a couple hours? Is this like one of those hotels?
Oh, no. No, I had dinner there, but then I went back to my private client's house.
Is that where you are now?
Business. No, I'm in a hotel now. I was thrown out.
Yeah, but is this hotel just for the duration of the podcast? Or are you spending the night here?
Just for the duration of it. No. I could spend the night here if I want. I paid with points because where I'm staying, it was a whole fucking thing. I can't really get into it actually because my recording equipment's not working and I couldn't get to, you know what I mean? The subways are.
Did you run there?
No, I just, it wasn't too far. I walked. It's in the financial district. If anyone needs a hotel recommendation of somewhere where it's active during the day with the boys who used to bully me and absolutely dead at night, come to Fidei.
Let me tell you something. Just based on the decor alone, I wouldn't sleep there.
Erin, excuse me, there happens to be a leather headboard.
Can you tilt the camera so I can see?
Yeah, but you're going to see my CeraVe, which is usually a very intimate part of my life.
Hey, it's not bad.
Not too bad. I'm not
staying
staying there, but it's not too bad.
No, I love that there's only 3 color options in there. It's either mustard, white, or black.
And that turns me green.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
I look like I just dyed my body blonde and went for a swim in the pool too early. That's the shade of green.
Did you go to the pool there? Is there a pool?
No, there's not. But there's a gym on 3 floors. And so I looked, and what that means is they have 3 treadmills on floor 6, 7, and 18.
So a treadmill per floor, 3 treadmills per floor.
Every 5 to 1 floor.
That's real consideration, I would say. Yeah. I would absolutely say it. Were there anything other than cigarettes at this place that you ate? Was there food?
There was caviar, honey. Baked potatoes, babe.
Did you just have baked potatoes and caviar?
I had a private client baked potato with caviar on it. I had a private client, we split a steak.
Is this how you get out of, you're not doing, are you doing like a Gen Alpha thing where you just don't have labels?
Excuse me, I'm a private client. Thank you, Sergio. I am the oldest person on Rent Boy. And I want some fucking dignity. Shout out to Honora for winning the BAFTA. That's my life. Anyway,
fucking
I do
your
feel
problem.
unhinged
It fucking can say, fucking solves everything. The Bryan Safi story.
That's right. How are you? Fill me in. I'm absolutely unhinged today, and I apologize for it.
I mean, why? First of all, it's not different than any other day. That's number 1.
No.
Okay.
And don't ask Sheryl Crow about number 2.
Don't ask about her number 2. She'll talk about other people's number 2. Does she live in Austin or Massachusetts or Tennessee?
One time when I was on JetBlue, I did manage to see her Architectural Digest tour because they break them out into segments. And I think she lives outside of Austin. I think it's like she lives on a ranch. Basically.
Like Round Rock or something?
And her house is very Americana looking.
Do
you know what I mean? Like a lot of road signs.
Flagstones.
A lot of like vintage Pepsi posters.
Well, then I feel like she's living in Round Rock because that's all Round Rock does. Isn't that where that big vintage fair is?
Oh, she
the
lives
antiques
in
place. I'm sure she's.
West
God, an old Texaco sign. Gotta have it.
That's what her home looks like.
Make that into a bed hoard. What is it called?
Yep.
Bedboard. Headboard. Yeah. Okay. Sergio says Google says West Nashville, Tennessee.
That might be true. Name the difference.
Well, I don't know what kind of vintage. I don't know what kind of rusted signs they have in West Nashville, but I have to assume there's a lot. And I bet she's like, how many old license plates?
To go back to the good old days at. What'd you say?
How many license plates did you count clock in her house?
I'm sure she has so many.
Wait, that's her house?
Wow. It looks like an English garden. Honey,
that's in Tennessee?
Tudors.
Oh, now hold on. First of all, I do not like this landscaping. But this is a weird, this looks like a brand new house.
I got to be honest with you.
This looks like a Home Depot mansion.
I think it is. And her recording studio is the one that's very Americana.
Oh, I see.
She is solar powered though. You know what? She really is.
Where are the solar panels? Where's the solar panels? I don't see them.
No, but it's solar paneled. So that's what she's doing.
Where? I don't see them on her roof.
I don't know, Erin. I didn't ask her. No.
Someone said, "Why are those shrubs like Hershey's Kisses?" That's exactly my problem.
Well, to be fair, and actually Zach beat me to it. It would be a shame for someone who sings a song called "Soak Up the Sun" to not have solar paneling. It's actually would be total bullshit.
Yeah,
like
it's like if Jimmy Buffett didn't own a boat.
Exactly. And again, for those of you who don't know, thank you for reminding me. This is our Gen Alpha episode. So welcome, guys. We tried to take all the people who are as current as possible. I'm talking caviar. I'm talking cigarettes. And I'm talking, of course, Sheryl Crow.
The most difficult to get into Italian restaurant in LA.
Absolutely. Yeah. You came here for the right sauce.
This is, and we also have our lady attorneys here with us tonight doing our live episode.
We do. We're grateful to have them. God bless them.
Every month we get to all do this together, which makes me feel like the pressure's off.
Honestly, me too, because they basically give us the jokks. Sometimes,
yeah, we just read.
Like,
basically, we just read the chat. That's what we do.
That's what we do. That's what this episode is. But it happens to be one of my favorites because you want to know something? I do feel like I can truly just be myself when I turn this camera on.
Yeah, because anything we're going to say that we regret, there's already witnesses, so it's over.
Honestly, it does feel like less pressure in that way.
Hey, what's on Dateline this week?
Okay. The Devil Wore White.
Okay. Wait, is that the name of the episode?
Yes. This is one of the most wild. A mother and son killing team who terrorized people on the Upper East Side of New York, Millionaires Row, Los Angeles. They owned 5 homes in Hawaii. Okay, they swindled their way into all of these things. A home in the Bahamas, a home in, Las Vegas. Okay, color me.
You have to have a home to counteract the Bahamas in Las Vegas and vice versa.
Exactly. And Keith Morrison, this is a case they've been covering for decades. So not only Morrison, who I believe does get first refusal, he picked the right episode to cover. Not only do we get it for this one. Oh, also there's a huge Easter bonnet in it. Not only do we get it
Does it take place during Easter or is it a totally...
No, she wears it all the time. It's like her favorite hat. It's
Gotcha.
a full Easter bonnet. And we also get to see Keith like 40 years ago. And I got to tell you, imagine Keith without a line on his face. It's actually shocking. It's like, look, the younger version of him looks like AI.
Wait, was this show going on 40 years ago?
Yeah, 30, 20, I don't know. No,
the 80s.
Dateline's been on a while. Yeah. But no, I think maybe the
90s.
80s or 90s, 90s, 80s. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway,
I'm ready for it.
Excuse me, but that is what's going on Dateline today.
We also have Vault episode 78 live from Milk Boy Philly. I mean,
that was
this was our first live shows. Yeah.
I think it was definitely, that was a cute venue too, but we had just come off of Princeton when we went to Princeton to teach kids how to do comedy and had to eat with them in a dining hall. They were all like 20, which of course
that was really awkward and I hated it.
And then we got harassed at dinner by a couple who took bets on whether I would finish my huge burger.
That was that weird, like, it was like where, like Robert Evans. No, not Robert Evans. Who's the guy? Paul Revere. It would like be where somewhere Paul Revere would eat, you know?
It was either the producer of The Godfather or a man who rode the Freedom Trail. I'm not
one of those two people. And I always get them mixed up. One wears glasses, one wears a tricorn hat.
Exactly. One of those two.
One has belt buckles, like buckles on their shoe. 1, 2 buckle my shoe.
Correct.
And one of them used to date, what's her name? Who lives in Santa Fe.
Exactly.
What's her name? Rita Hayworth.
I already forgot who we're talking about.
Robert Evans.
Oh, Ally McGraw.
Ally McGraw. That's right.
Yeah. Before she left him for Steve McQueen. Level up, baby.
Yeah, but also level down because Steve McQueen was a fucking abusive dick. So we've got Dateline Recap 87. As Bryan said, that's going to be for the $10 and over tiers. We were Shoe. Also, Lobster Fest is back. Early aughts ceramic art and so much more.
Fabulous.
And the YouTube, get the first act of our video episodes every week for free. All you have to do is search Attitudes Pod on YouTube.
Now I have to quickly, because we're not going to do this at the end, but we are going to do a thing where we're going to start highlighting some of the Patreon comments. And I do want to highlight this one. Leah sent that said, Erin, I'm hijacking the most recent episode to share that I've been listening to old episodes and I'm listening to episode 488 from early 2021. When you said that if in the next few years, Elon Musk shows us his true colors, quote, and becomes a giant jackass, that we need to all be reminded that he once was quite involved with ventriloquism.
Listen, if you have ever doubted my witch's gut, shame on you, because I see the future. It's very hard for me to live in the present. I don't go into the past. I love the fucking future. So
I didn't know that he was a ventriloquist.
yes,
I forgot.
I'm telling you, it's like Hitler trying to fucking paint daisies. They're these dorks. Listen, someone needs to hug a dork before they ruin the world.
By the way, after all the, Matt Harrison says at last, after all these years and many rounds of conversion therapy, Erin and Bryan's descriptions of men, quote, relieving themselves have finally cured me of my homosexuality. It's been lovely to listen to you all these years. I'm off to listen to Joe Rogan now. Deuces. Can I please?
Matt's profile picture.
Can I please share his profile picture? Because it's iconic. Can you guys see what his profile is?
It's the woman from the last Dateline.
With the transition lens herself, honey. We love her.
I love her.
So good. All right. Should we get into some shoes?
Absolutely.
Okay. Something to celebrate, honeys. We're digging to the bottom, baby, and we're coming out with truffles. Actually, this wasn't even a deep dig to the bottom, but it's news that really didn't get reported. But San Francisco, there is a building there.
Oh, that's sinking? Oh.
No. It's the building called 101-102 Taylor Street. It's called that because that's where it is. Do you understand the address?
Yeah, but they need a better name.
I agree. Because it's like let's settle on one of those numbers.
The Tender Coin or something.
Oh, yeah, the Tenderloin. Honey, the Tenderloin.
The Tenderlion? How about that?
Cute. Well, this building, 101 Taylor Street, used to be a cafeteria called Compton's. And I'll tell you the history of it in just a second, but it was just named the very first transgender movement historic site. This was pre-Stonewall, and there was a trans uprising at this location, at this cafeteria, that was just added to the National Register of Historic Places, which of course has the listing of all historical sites, buildings, even objects in the United States, which is a huge deal because really we think of Stonewall as being we know that there were other uprisings before Stonewall, but that was really the landmark one, the one that put it on the map, that really took queer rights to the next level and liberated a lot of people and sort of said that is enough. And of course, that uprising and that riot was led by, Sylvia Rivera and of course, Marsha P. Johnson, Stormy DeLaveray, the iconic drag king. But this is the first time that a riot by and for trans people against police brutality has been honored and recognized. And of course, this flew right under the radar. There was no official announcement about it, like there was when, Stonewall became essentially listed on the National Park Registry under Obama. There was no formal ceremony or designation ceremony or anything like that. But this was 3 years before Stonewall. And essentially what happened is at this Jean Compton's cafeteria, it was in the ground floor of a commercial space, this trans person was being harassed by the police, who was trying to arrest her with no warrant, threw a cup of hot coffee in the face of the police officer as he tried to arrest her. And then a lot of trans people, drag queens, and gay men stood up, protected her, and fought back, which is amazing. And doesn't really get any airtime. It's sort of the same way that the Black Cat in LA doesn't really get any airtime. I think because it wasn't, I don't know, the headline news that Stonewall was, and also wasn't sort of also New York almost practically waiting for that moment to happen. Do you know what I mean? So the exact date is actually not known. The name of this trans person or the people involved in it is not really known, which is so upsetting, which is why they had over and over and over again submitted it for the National Register of Historic Places. And it was always denied, saying it needed more evidence, more research, blah, 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 because they couldn't actually assign. I mean, these people were
How did they get it
forgotten.
In? They just finally were like, all right.
They relented. Yeah. And it took them proposing it literally dozens of times. And by the way, this is inspiring. The proposal was really, really fought for and seen through by a grad student who was like,
so everyone thinks grad students can't pull things off. And here's evidence that they can do stuff, that they're valuable in this world.
I will eat my words about grad students from here forward. I used to say they were nothing but sluts and punks.
You always said that they didn't want to get real jobs.
Let me tell you, grad student. This was my old quote.
Yeah.
Grad student. If you're the prize at the end of the race, I'm running backwards. Okay? That's what I would say right to their faces.
But now you'd say something different.
Now I would say things like, I've seen initiative, and it turns out you do if you want to be, a professional in your area, if you do want to be scientist, doctor, literature, if you do want to tell people you've read more books than others, if you want to say things like, oh, you're talking to someone who went 2 years further than you did. I give you the right. I pass the baton. Do you know I'm going to be in...
I hope we go down in history as the podcast who dismisses grad school.
Honestly, I'm proud of everyone who goes to grad school. I really am.
Hey, you're addicted to ed, and that's you might as well
Absolutely.
face it. Yeah.
And hopefully become really, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and say what the benefits of grad school are. Yeah, education is important. My God.
Teaching.
Everyone needs to cool off.
Teaching is important if you want to go to grad school, right?
Of course. What do
you consider law school? Is that a form of grad school?
Yeah, of course.
What about when you get your medical degree? Is that a form of grad school?
All of it. Okay. As I mentioned, first thing to be put on the register specifically because of its connection to the history of the transgender movement, which of course, as we said before, a lot of rights did start under the leadership and guidance and chutzpah of trans people in this country, which is why when things go badly, as they are this year and have been for the past year in terms of legislation against trans people, in terms of Trump's efforts.
Sorry. I have to interrupt. I'm so sorry.
I mean, that wasn't really the punchline yet.
I know it wasn't. And I have to excuse myself because I know I'm laughing during something quite sad. But Jack in the chat said, Sergio makes Bryan seem so chill in the edit.
You know what, Jack in the chat?
This is why we do the live shows. So you can see.
You know what, Jack in the chat?
Colors.
You know what, Jack in the chat? If you're the prize at the end of the race, I'm running backwards. Okay? Okay?
Sorry, go back to what you were saying. That was very serious and we need to learn about.
No, it's fine. By the way, this is an interesting thing I learned in this, that none of this protects the building from being demolished or significantly altered. Isn't that wild? Because it's privately owned, this building. So apparently like
everything.
Yeah, I know. But some of the sidewalk may always carry the plaque, but the building itself, even though it's been deemed historically significant and is nationally registered now as a historic site, doesn't really do anything. It gives it a modicum of protection, but that's really about it, which is wild. Now, as someone also mentioned, there is some truly tragic news in part of this. And as we're talking about the onslaught and I don't even know what you call it at this point, the war against trans people fighting with every weapon imaginable against the most vulnerable population in the United States, the National Park Service this week removed the letters T and Q from the LGBTQ plus initials on its website for the Stonewall National Monument. Now, remember, Obama designated this as a national monument in 2016, as I had mentioned earlier. So on the website for national monuments and even national parks, it has erased the T and the Q to where it now just calls it an LBG, historically significant site.
Cool. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but a trans person threw the first brick.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, the leaders of that were 2 trans women and 1 iconic drag king.
Yeah.
That's who led the movement. Those were the heroes of the movement. And I want to say this because I also think there was a little bit of a boogeyman thing here where people are saying oh, LGs and Bs are trying to distance themselves from Ts. I don't know if those are just headlines or if that's actually true, but bow down everyone. To every trans person, You know, because they are the ones who paved the way to live your life and have your chem orgies. Okay? They're the
What's
ones.
a chem orgy?
You know, when people do chemicals and then they have orgies.
And they call them chem orgies?
Usually it's people who are too old to do that. What? And I am age shaming. And also chem shaming. Fire away. Anyway, obviously, this is a result of Trump's executive order prohibiting federal recognition of trans people, period, their existence, their historical contributions to a freer America for many of us. And again, Erin, of course, reminding people that Stonewall was a riot of queer people against police brutality started by trans and queer people. Practically overnight, the National Park Service's webpage went from saying LGBTQ plus to just LGB, and the webpage now says, just so you didn't know it was an accident. Before the 1960s, almost everything about living openly as lesbian, gay, bisexual, or bisexual person was illegal. The page also started referring to rainbow pride flags simply as LGB flags. Who has ever in their life called it that? Has even a straight person called it that? I've never heard the phrase LGB flag.
I mean, what was the one that Tiffany Trump, what was hers thing that she said?
She was LQTGB.
That's right.
Isn't
Just
that
wrong
wonderful?
order.
She's so great. Honestly, Tiff, you really let me down in this second term but I will say this, the monument itself, this is not a plus. This is just because it's a fact. The monument itself still does say LGBTQ. There was a riot there, not a riot, excuse me, a protest there on Friday about this language. I wish I had known about it because I absolutely would have gone. But we've talked about the LGB Alliance, which started, I believe, in the UK, that is intended to turn lesbians and gays against their trans brothers and sisters, who again paved the way for all of us and are now having the hardest time for it. And I happened to be reading an article on estrogen for your face and how it could be good for wrinkles unless you start to spontaneously bleed, which then could be bad. And I got to tell you, this is what's disappointing. Those are the New York Times. This is what's disappointing about how quickly people have folded under this. The New York Times, in their ridiculous article where all they said was, estrogen for your face, it could work, but maybe it doesn't. It's actually hasn't been tested yet, so don't do it. But if you do, you might notice you have fewer wrinkles. But if you also do, you could notice that somehow your throat starts bleeding.
What I don't like about what the New York Times is doing is they're literally like, here's what we saw on the internet. What do you guys think?
Literally, they quoted influencers in this and then talked to a doctor.
No.
And by the way, the thing that drove me crazy in this is all the comments were not about how insane this article is and how little research was done in it. What drove everyone in the comments crazy was that they used the phrase pregnant people. And they said, I'm a liberal. I will always vote Democrat, but enough is enough. That's where this is at. And it's gone unchecked. Even the well-meaning people and the people you looked to as sort of guideposts, or at least people on your side, are swiftly turning their allyship away from the people who need it the most right now. And it's disgusting to see. And I got to say, I don't know what is happening with the Democratic Party. I know I should care more than I do, except I'm so disgusted by every single one of them, except possibly AOC. But when the headlines today are the Democratic donors are afraid to donate because they're afraid of Trump, shit has gone downhill so fast. And this honestly feels as if we're withdrawing, that literally the Democrats have withdrawn from a war quickly, and that they've been overtaken completely by a true crazy and we've been overtaken by the richest man in the world, who now wants all of our IRS information, which, by the way, why Republicans aren't complaining about that, because that directly hits them where they live. But they're all afraid because you know what's going to happen? Here's what's going to happen even in the midterms. And yeah, I do feel like I'm on a chem orgy right now myself. But here's what's going to happen in the midterms. Any Republican who says they are going to go against what Elon does and what Trump does will be told by Elon, we are not funding your reelection campaign, and we are funding the shit out of people who say they don't mind if all your information from the IRS comes straight to me. That's what's going to happen. So eventually this entire government's going to be bought, and the government's supposed to be not for profit. Honey, that is always supposed to be not for profit. It is not turning into that. So any Democrat who wants to hang their head low right now and bury themselves in the sand can truly go fuck yourself, including practically every member of every caucus I've ever known about. And I shouldn't have ended it that way because I barely understand what the word caucus means.
Well, it
But
sounds
another
like a cam
reference,
orgy.
caucus.
Yes. Yes.
Anyway,
Pull it
I
out.
also don't recommend creme
You can do
fraiche
it.
before, you nail somebody. Because that came with caviar.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Oh, yeah. When you mean caviar, do you mean caveat?
Is that, I'm so rich that I forget that I do sometimes accidentally say like with one caviar. Isn't that funny?
That's fun. That
Yeah.
is funny.
Yeah.
That is funny. I am looking for the helpers. Wherever I can get them. I had a FedEx delivery that had I put the wrong suite number on it. Gosh, if I didn't find a sweet lady who helped me out. Isn't that nice?
That is nice.
Well, I want to talk about seizing the carp. I'm talking about the fish.
Nice.
Yes. I want to talk about who is out there ready to give us information when fascist dorks shut down social media because we wanted tampons in the bathroom and people to live their lives free from discrimination. I want to talk about the people who are out there doing good work, okay, helping us out. And I want to talk about this platform called Diem. Have you heard of them?
I have, but I don't know much about it.
Okay, so they're a social search engine that I don't like the way they build themselves. I'm just going to say it before I say it because I don't like this. I get it. I get it, but I don't like. Okay. A search engine that feels like asking questions in the girls' bathroom. Now, I just have a real allergy to adult women calling each other girl. Unless it's like, hey, girl, I'm down. But calling
if it's like
collectively like me and the girls or
see.
a girl's bathroom, I don't enjoy it.
Yeah. You think it's infantilizing?
I'm a grown ass lady. I have gray hair. Even if when I was in my 20s, I didn't like being called a girl. I have an allergy to it because of growing up in the South, and calling someone boy or girl is the most demeaning shit you can do to somebody. And it's used as a weapon, and I don't like it.
Right.
So then when someone does it to themselves, I'm like, but why? Anyway, it's not about the way that they've built themselves. They are trying to carve out a counterpoint to male-dominated AI and male-run information sources, which Google is, which all of the internet is. I mean, we've talked about it on the show. There was a time when if you Google doctors, you only got men, white men. If you got nurses, you only got white women. Like, there's real biases happening in our tech. And this company is trying to offer a alternative with the female gaze, basically. So imagine it's Google or Reddit through a female lens.
Oh, that's nice. I mean, it sounds nice. Yeah.
Well, because ChatGPT, there's a study that just came out. ChatGPT had a problem associating male pronouns with nurses and a harder time and really struggled with letting female pronouns describe pilot duties. Like they were trying to
male pronouns with nurses, and they
wouldn't do it.
Oh, they wouldn't do it.
And we're like,
oh,
how? Like if they were to ask a question, I don't know how they laid it out, but it was like a male nurse or a nurse does so and so. He did, and it like ChatGPT was like, I don't understand who you're talking about because you said nurse and then he,
right?
And then they did the same thing with pilot. Like it was like trying to get them to describe pilot duties, landing duties, using female pronouns, and it just wouldn't do it because it doesn't have it has knowledge, but it's a dumb shit male knowledge, So the founder of this AI, Emma Bates, said, we're building a more inclusive alternative ways to search the internet for a huge demographic. What's that demographic? It is women, it is trans people, it is queer people, all putting their information into this platform. She said that people are on the site looking for things like birth control, where to get abortions, and trans healthcare, which is fantastic. We need alternatives to this stuff because you don't want to be, everything's trackable. And by the way, if you have not downloaded a VPN, I would highly recommend doing that ASAP. I would also highly recommend.
I don't have a VPN actually.
I think
okay
you should
to say that?
I think everyone should get a VPN. I think everyone should have physical copies of their birth certificates and their social security cards.
But why do I need a VPN again? What does it do?
Blocks your IP address. It blocks it. It's hard to track. It's harder to track where you are. It's how you
can't
watch.
Get blocked up.
Huh?
Sheryl Crow.
Sheryl Crow's butthole.
Can't get blocked, honey. Wow, that's interesting. Okay, yeah. I mean, I guess I sort of knew what one was, but I've just never had one.
Yeah.
All right, I'll get one.
So there's just a bunch of speech infractions happening on Meta. Meta last month, after they said they were loosening speech restrictions, they blocked, blurred, and restricted accounts that were talking about abortion pills. So on the heels of saying we're going to loosen our speech restrictions, they then absolutely came down on these abortion pill providers.
You know who's loose as a goose when it comes to sitting on the pot.
You're talking about Sheryl still?
It just falls out, honey.
Okay. Now I hope this was just the choice of the article writer and Fortune, but they said it talked about Diem adding a part of their data privacy promise that they will do everything possible to avoid complying with subpoenas if ever asked about abortion cases. Now,
nice. That's a good.
That's great. However, I don't like the way that's laid out, that sentence. Everything possible to avoid complying. I think if you have people, if you're utilizing people's information to make your product more intelligent, and you're basically getting free labor, I think the least you could do is if someone starts searching for abortion or abortion pills, you immediately block any data that connects them to the person doing the searches. Mm. I just think you should.
That makes sense.
Do that, you know? Again, it might be the word choice of the person who wrote the article. But Diem had a 40% increase in their user base in January, and the searches increased 400% on the heels of all this stuff happening at Meta.
Wow.
They also have partnered with verified content providers. So you're getting information from sources that have done research like Hey Jane and Evie, and there's also a hormone health startup, Avia. So you're not getting it from influencers, you're getting it from somebody who hopefully knows. Now listen, I don't think we shouldn't have to depend on a person coming up with a bunch of venture cap to come up with an alternative that doesn't narc people out or ban people or shuts down their speech because they are looking for healthcare. That's not where we should be. That is where we are. And I don't know. I just hope there's more people out there putting alternatives together, because if you had an alternative business like a Tesla, but you're not into ventriloquism, or you don't hate,
it's hard to find, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. Like you're not looking to bankrupt the American government and its people. Like you might be able to start your own car.
And if you sign up, if one of the perks is that you sell or give away loose cigarettes, that could be a huge incentive for people. Oh,
I love that.
Not only to start smoking, but also to use your tool. And I don't mean like,
talking about your backhoe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have a question. So is there like the name of one I should get? Like a VPN? Is there like a type that people like?
Yeah, maybe
Is that a correct question? Like
VPN.
Surfshark. People like Surfshark.
Okay. I had Express VPN. Okay.
Prior,
Proton is supposed to be
Proton
good. And
VPN.
Amy,
No,
they also have Proton Mail, right?
But it's one of the questions, what is a proton?
We did it again. Listen, we're going to hop off so we can do a Q&A with our lady attorneys.
Go to patreon.com/attitudes for the new Dateline with this mother-son psycho duo that also involves Munchkin Land. And
is that their words?
No, but strangely, adjacently, the little lady from the Poltergeist movies who would say, "This house is clean." She's tangentially involved. Zelda Rubinstein.
Wow.
Anyway, you'll see.
Okay.
I mean, she isn't. But I'm trying to get people over to the Patreon. You know what? Honestly, now people are making up VPN names. All right. We'll see you later.
Bye.